Welcome. I'm RoseAnn Jansen, the No BS Psychic for Business, and your spiritual guide to the stars and your dreams. And so I'm dubbing these sessions as the discussions about stuff that actually matters. And so I'm really excited to have with me today Natalie Kawai, and she's a spiritual teacher, healer, guide, author, artist, musician. She's a revolutionary thought leader, messenger of the great mother of creation. And she was born on the shores of Lake Geneva, Switzerland, and she now calls Hawaii her home. She is clairaudient right from birth, and she has always been haunted by the mysteries of life, why we're here, and our role in the universe. So she found her voice, she found the voice of the Divine Mother of Creation, and 13 years ago, and entered into a relationship of teacher-student with the Great Mother. And the Great Mother revealed to her what happened at the beginning of creation. So Natalie has studied relentlessly with the Supreme Being in a constant and intense dialogue. This practice led her to understand how to take care of the gulf that still exists between our divinity and our humanity. She founded LST, Light Speed Transmutation. And it's a radical system to restore our lost consciousness and drive out the last part of our ego. She champions the rise of the feminine energy. And this is why I'm so excited to talk with you today, Natalie. I love that you're doing this, and this is so, in my opinion, this is so needed right now in the world. So welcome.
Thank you so much, RoseAnn. I'm delighted to be with you and with all your audience. It's wonderful. Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. So I thought we would just jump right in, and I want to ask you, how would you, or would you even define male and female energy?
Well, I don't want to spend time on masculine energy at this point. I would like to focus on feminine energy. Right. So the Divine Mother is really the grounded. Let me just rephrase that. What it does, the feminine energy, is what is missing in our big. I'm sorry, I'm just distracted by this thing over there. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so the feminine energy is very crucial at this point to insert in our consciousness because we lost it. We lost it right from the beginning. The mother has not been recognized. It was all part of a plan. But now we have to fill up that gap because that gap has been filled by ego. That's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is, right? So ego replaced the consciousness of the mother, the feminine energy, and now to establish the mastery of love on this planet and the full experience of our divinity, we have to get this energy, this feminine energy, back into place, right? So to answer partially your question, the masculine energy, it was the father. It's the father energy, meaning that the mother give him a chance to express himself. And it's very nice. It's beautiful, he had to do it. So he took the whole space. And you know how male are focused. They have to have the whole space. They can't multitask like we do, right? So she gave him the whole space to assert himself, to discover himself, to take the dominion on himself. And he did a wonderful job. But that was not enough, So the spirit side of creation is one thing, but now we have to go into the will, the W-I-L-L, which is not the will, ego will, but the will of the whole, W-H-O-L-E. And this is what we need to do at this point in our evolution, because if consciousness does not develop that aspect, then a portion of it will stay attributed to ego, which, creates all kinds of problems in our lives, personal lives and globally, right? So basically the masculine energy is assertive, it's hierarchic, it's domination, and it's all good, but it's not the nurturing, the communion, the intuition, the collaboration that we need to have in order to coexist on this planet, right? So it's absolutely necessary at this point in our lives to foster the mother energy, to rediscover our intuition, which is kind of a split between intuition, like we are in duality, right? So intuition is based on partial ego and partial source, right? So we listen to our intuition, but we don't know that there are two trends in that intuition. So we have to make sure that we come from the full package, and that takes work. There's no way around that. We can't just sit and meditate. It was good for a while, bless all of this method, but right now we have to dig a little further. We have to acknowledge our negative emotion, because in our negative emotion, we have pieces of ourselves that are absolutely crucially important, and that can only be retrieved if we face this negativity and embrace it, because it's a part of us. And in this part of us, we have another part, which is our active consciousness that is lingering in there, wrapped up into programs and, excuse me, and disguise that we need to push away and get. I hope I'm making myself clear.
Yeah, I'm just writing like crazy here. You're just bringing so many things to mind. Like the feminine, I get the feminine as being the funnel.
Yes.
That is to draw everything into the human form so that we can bring the whole works together here on earth, which to me is our goal.
Yes.
And also, I found it interesting you said the spirit is male, and I also get that, and that I get that the human is female, and it's like heaven and earth, and it's to be bound together and to create the whole.
Yes, absolutely.
And be separate.
Yeah, definitely. So we have this hiatus that has been there forever, and it was designed to be this way. I don't know exactly why, but we had to be deprived from a part of our consciousness to long for it, and we had longing for so long. So it's not even funny anymore, right? So let's get it together at this point, and let's accept the mother energy is really the root of creation. She will get us back into source.
Yeah.
That's it, and if we are not coming back to our origin, we're going to never experience our true essence, which is pure love. We can talk about it we understand it intellectually, but that's not enough. She's the emotion, she's the magnetism, and we have superimposed the spirit over the mother.
Yeah.
And the father has been the guide, and God bless, of course. He has his importance, and I'm not going to push him away by any means, but he has to integrate that energy into the root of source.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to do that. Otherwise, humanity is going to lose its track, We're going to end up destroying ourselves, basically.
Yeah. I totally agree. I like too that you say that we have to go deeper. We can't just meditate. This is also how I feel. That it's at this time it's active. We can't just passively search for it or wait for it. We have to actively go for it.
Yes.
And facing negativity and bringing the parts of ourself back. I know I've struggled with this idea that if God is everything, then it's everything. Like it's good, bad, ugly. It's the whole works, right? And it's a little bit hard to wrap my head around that mass murderers and plastic is part of God. Hi, Neil. And I'm just sorry. I'm just going to mute you so that we don't have too much interference here in the static. So but embracing that, you know, like actually facing the negativity and the bad things that are going on and reclaiming those parts of ourselves. I think that's hugely important. And is that a big part of the work that you do?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, I have something in my throat that I can't wipe. Yeah, basically, we have erected a system in our field, you know, which is pain. It's not really a nice one, but this is it, you know. So our pain or our negativity is really the signal of our distance from our source, right? So it's a blessing, but we don't see it as a blessing at all. We always want to eliminate it, to numb it, to zap it, to whatever, you know, cut its head. But we don't understand that by zapping our negative emotion, what we do is zap ourselves. In the negative emotion, the signal, there's a pointer to a piece of us that we have never had before. So we have to flow through the negative emotion. That is not painful at all. You know, we all are pushed away by pain, all of us, of course, right? But I know the principle and I guide my people through the pain without any pain. It's not painful at all. But we just have to face it. We just have to embrace it, right? So pain is crucial to understand our negative emotion. And then we would be free. Because once there is a complete alignment with our source, negativity will not exist anymore. We are going to be in unity instead of duality. So it's quite a yummy place. Yeah. We are so attached to, you know, we're so attached to the perception of our diminishment. We've been diminished for so long. We think we made a mistake. We got out of source. And therefore we have to redeem ourselves and all that stuff, you know. And we have to get over that. You know, the new era that's dawning now on Earth in this 21st century is, okay, get over that. But not get over it by thinking that we are more powerful, because that would plug into our ego, right?
Yeah.
So that would replace what we have done forever. So we have to demystify pain and say, okay, I feel that because I'm missing a part of me. And I have to go through this pain and feel it and go all the way to transmute precisely, you know, transmute the pain back into pure power or love or consciousness, same thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Marie Forleo says something to the effect that if things aren't working out for you, it's because you're working with faulty information, and that kind of works the same way. I think with pain is that to me, pain, I'm physical pain but I'm not going to go there now. But mental pain is more like it's because we don't like where we are, or like we make it ourselves. And so it follows that if we're making it for ourselves, it's to point us to something to pay attention.
Exactly. And the first step in order to get involved with pain and get involved with ourselves is to accept. All the teachers in the whole universe always point out to acceptance. You know, if we don't accept where we are and what we feel, then we are bound to stay put. You know, we can't move. Yeah. And we have to move in order to find ourselves all in all. Yes.
Okay, Neil, sorry. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, if you'd like to jump in, go right ahead.
Well, I think I'll sit for a bit to find out what I'm jumping into.
Okay. I'm just going to mute you again, but just put your hand up or, you know, wave around or do something to get our attention.
Hello, hi, Neil. Good to have you here.
You said you didn't really know why, but do you have any sort of ideas of why we have suppressed the feminine and the female, the feminine in ourselves? You know, because I truly believe that male and female were both the same. We're a combination of male and female.
Definitely, yes.
And but why have we suppressed that feminine so much, and then by extension in society suppressed females?
Yeah. Well, we have a model that we follow, which is our dear Father, the Spirit, right?
Yeah.
Because Spirit, in order for him to experience who he was, right, he had to push the mother away. There was no alternative. It's not bad. It's not. I don't want to incriminate it, but it's just that he needed all the space because he was troubled by the emotional quality of the female side of creation, right? So he couldn't put up with her. So he pushed her aside. He denied her momentarily, which lasted a long time, but it's momentarily. So now we have to rehabilitate that quality. That's why we have pushed against our emotion. And we did not, the female in society have been so repressed, so pushed down. The value of femininity have not been acknowledged. They couldn't. We had an example to follow. And now we're getting out of that because we feel incomplete, We feel this brewing energy that is in us all the time. We can't put a numb of it anymore. Right? So it's exploding in our face. And when we have a way to handle it, tools, methodology, it's easy. And we feel so much richer because it's so incredibly creative and rich. Without emotion, we are not even alive, right? Our humanity is made out of emotion. If we repress it, we are robots, right? So fortunately, now we are acceptant of our emotion, which is the feminine quality. We need it, we want it, right? But we can't mimic our source with good intention. We have to be that source. And in order to be that source, we have to integrate all of our consciousness into our source, which again is a little bit hard for us because we are so impregnated by the old paradigm of, I need to punish myself. I need to redeem myself. I need to do my mea culpa for a long, long time. And even though we start to getting out of that, our subconscious is still tied up into it. We don't know it, right? So we have evolved, and we have taken a good step, with the New Age and the new philosophy of creating our reality and all that, which is good, but it's not sufficient. We have taken over the power where we don't need to take over the power. We have to be the power. And to be the power, we have to surrender to it. It's a complete different equation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I totally agree. And that, yeah, it seems like I have so many thoughts going on in my head right now that that it got mixed up. The masculine energy got mixed up with the ego, and the power came out in a bad way for some part of it, not all of it, of course. But if we can integrate it all, it will end up integrating it all and letting ego go and do what it's good at, the doing. It will be more of the true power that comes from spirit rather than an ego power trip sort of thing.
Exactly. And if I may let you know, when we talk about spirit, we talk about the father quality, right?
Yeah.
So there is the essence that is divided between two parts, which is the spirit, volatile and electrical. And there is the will, not the will of the ego, but the will coming from the whole. I don't know why it's called this way, but it's called this way. It's a little bit hindering for me to talk about the will because people think the will is, our will and the will of God and stuff, It's called the will. It's the energy of the mother. It's magnetic and it's nurturing and it's creative, right?
Uh-huh.
So when we talk about the spirit, we talk about the father side, right? When we talk about the will, we talk about the mother side. And we have to balance them out. We have to integrate them out because the spirit is super important and the will is super important. It's like a flower, there's the head, there's the stem, and there is the root, right? So the spirit is the head, the stem is the femininity, and the root is neutrality, which is source. So we have to integrate all that. I always take the example of the atom, right? In the atom, we have the neutron, which is source. Then we have the proton, which is feminine energy. And then we have the electron, which is masculine energy, right? And the masculine energy revolves around the atom to always line up with the proton, right? It wants to always follow the proton. And they have to blend together and enter neutrality, meaning enter our source. We can realize that. We think that because we are human, this is just, for divinity. It's not. We are divinity. So we have to stop that diminishment of humanity, right? We have to blend our spirit with our will and then enter the neutrality of our source. And then we can be in complete alignment with our source and create with from the power of our source. And then all duality are going to be abolished, finally. And that's going to create heaven on earth. This is not a fancy idea, right? It's a reality. We can do it.
Yeah.
But we have to work at it.
Yeah. You just made so much sense to me. You just sort of pieces just sort of fell into place there. The spirit being the electric and dynamic, and the feminine being magnetic, creative, and being the will. And even in terms of Christianity, like all of a sudden stuff makes sense. And like, the way it's normally taught, it doesn't make sense, but the way you say it, it makes sense. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, I'm glad because, I feel really sad that people don't get it, because they feel it inside of them. They want it so badly, right?
Yeah.
But they're presented with this eternal concept, and we are so attached. Well, I'm part of it, of course. So we are attached to it, but we're attached to it unconsciously, right? We don't know we're attached to it. And we want to defend it because we are identified with it, right? And this is a wrong identification. It's a false identification. It's a partial. I don't want to say wrong or false, but I want to say it's a partial identification, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, when we express our creativity, we feel so happier, right?
Yeah.
Creation is creation. It's the remembrance of our source. That's why we feel so happy. So we don't want to deny it, right?
Okay, there's a few directions I want to go, but I want to touch on that creativity. You're an artist, and so am I. And what I find is when I'm painting or doing any artwork, if I play music, it occupies my brain, my ego brain, and gives it something to focus on. And then that's what it feels like the spirit and the will come together and produce this thing that I couldn't, my ego could not produce by itself, and I'm in the process. I'm part of the process. I'm not controlling the process. And I think that's such an amazing feeling. And I'm wondering, like, if that's the feeling that will be there when we finally get to heaven on earth, to that.
Exactly, because basically we have founded our humanity on resistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have felt abandoned by our divinity, by our source, and we have started to push against, to resist.
Mm-hmm.
And the physical body is resistance by itself, right? So we are so identified with resistance, and then the ego put a dome onto that, put a shell onto that, and defend that territory like beak and nail, right? So we have a hard time because the ego has replaced the lost consciousness that we have lost when, we burst. And so, like you just said, when you get out of your ego, you feel so happy because then you surrender to your source. And we so all want to do that. And that's why, the dysfunction of the mind are coming all the time, because the ego and the mind are so connected. And when we get in our mind, we feel, we grind and all of that. And when we get out of our mind, it's so refreshing, So, of course, we need the mind. I don't want to condemn the mind. The mind is an organizer, we need the mind. But we need to get the power of the mind back to our source instead of back to the ego.
Yeah.
That's the big difference, right?
Yeah, for sure.
In order to do that, we have to have this alignment with our will, with the proton, and all the way down to the neutron, right?
Yeah.
And this is what is going to happen in this new era. We have taken the step, and now we have to fulfill that task, and we have to want it. We have to make an effort, because it's not easy. It's actually, I want to rephrase that. It's easy, but our resistance that is always in the way is going to put stick in the wheels and make it uneasy. But otherwise, if we surrender, oh, it's a piece of cake, literally.
Yeah, everything is so much easier when you do.
I know.
Yeah. The ego makes everything, seems to make everything so complicated and difficult, and yeah, it's crazy. Do you find that the younger generations are easier, going there easier?
They are, but the thing is, through the social media and the age of Aquarius, there is a more humanitarian trend on this planet, definitely. But they also yield their power to the group, the community.
Yeah.
And I see that it's a little bit of a danger, right? Because they marry this grand scheme, a scheme, I'm not sure with my French, my English, this grand movement, should I say, right? And they forget about themselves. So they're not necessarily progressing consciously. They're kind of eliminating an obstacle, which is okay, but you still have to do personal work, right?
Mm-hmm.
The socialism is not going to do anything. The community is not going to do anything. It's a support system, which is good, but you don't want to yield your power to the support system. You have to find yourself, which is to find your source.
Yeah, really, really good point. I hadn't really thought about it like that, but philosopher, I can't think of his name now. Yeah, he goes there too, and he's kind of is saying that we're in that community one, and we need to move to the bigger, past just the we to the whole.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that would be the same sort of idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
If we don't conquer ourselves, which is okay, there is source, which is an assembling of pixel, and those pixel is us. They are us, So there's a large pixel, which is the mother energy. There's a large pixel, which is the father energy. And then around that, there is all these pixels, that is us. If we don't take our real estate in source, we're going to never contribute to the whole. And that's why they desperately need us, because we are part of them. We're all part of each other, right? So we have to activate our source, our real estate in source. I hope I'm making myself clear. It's a little bit maybe confusing for certain, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a really nice way of saying it. You have a different way of saying things that make more sense. To claim our real estate in source, I love that, actually, because then that forces us to be responsible, really. Yeah. Like if we can just pass things off as not having any impact,
right?
We are a source, and so we should get it together and act like it.
Yes, exactly. So we were tribal societies, and then we became a little more individualistic, and we went on our own, and then it didn't feel all that good. And then we became more communal, which is exactly where we are right now. So we have to accept our aloneness. It doesn't mean that we want to sabotage the structure of society or nothing like that. But when we accept our aloneness and our source, then our source being everyone else, we are at one with everyone else. It's not a concept anymore. It becomes a reality, right? But it takes an effort to accept the aloneness, because this path is being alone, basically. We have to forge and go. And we have support. But if we identify with the support system, with the social media and all that, then we are static. We don't move. It's just another illusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The ascension to our source.
Yeah, that's interesting. Having to accept our aloneness. When I first was earlier in this journey and feeling very, very much alone, but then working through that and going deeper and experiencing that feeling of complete oneness with everything, like not just with humanity, but with everything. And that's such an amazing place to be.
Yes.
And when you're there too, you can't really be mean. You can't.
No.
You can't waste. You can't disregard anything. It's such a different way to be.
Yes. It's all encompassing. You know, there is no duality anymore. You don't fight for your identity. You know, it's like the religion wars, the racial stuff. That doesn't exist because we are one when we are.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of surrendering of our schematas and our programming, right?
Yeah.
And we need to detach. We need to detach from our old forms of existence, And this is where we are all visionary, right? So my vision is this grand, creative, span of life where we all are a part of the creation, because we need to move to that place.
Mhm.
Definitely. We all have to be creator, and we have to create a reality that is way, way, way more productive than the creation that we do now, where we create our cars and our house. And we need all that, of course, but it's going to be easier. We're not going to have to fight for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And currency will disappear. We're not going to need money to trade our qualities. We won't need to prove ourselves anymore. We're going to be ourselves.
Yeah.
And when beingness, we can create, because Source has created for beingness, not from something else, right?
Right. It's fun to for me. It's fun to think about what could be that way. Not like everything being known, right? And not feeling like you have to hide who you are or what you are, and being in a place where the things that you would hide now, that you would be embarrassed about or something, and they don't exist, and they don't have that same negative impact. Like you said, they're learning portions more than negativity. They're to point us into new ways to learn, and so I like to play with the idea of not having passwords, and not having not having everything open and not being hacked or anything like that. Like, it would be a whole new world.
Exactly. We came into matter to have limitations, because we needed to have limitations in order to realize the limitation of our consciousness, right? But we have to dissolve this limitation to return to pure fluidity. And that's where we're going to go,
Mm-hmm.
because we have established some severe boundaries to our limitation, and we defend them, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, we're starting to see that, that this doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
To be ashamed of ourselves and feeling guilty. Okay, enough already. Let's move on. Yeah, and that is going to come through the acceptance of our shame and our guilt and all that. When we accept it, then we move on.
Yeah. So do you see this as being somewhat smooth transition, or do you see it as being a big upheaval?
It's going to take some adjustments, because there's so much resistance. The ego is going to fight beak and nails. And so that's why, there is on the planet those natural, like earthquake and tornadoes and hurricane. So it might take some adjustment. It's unfortunate because we resist. That's all, when water finds metal, it bursts, right? When it finds water, it blends. So we have to stop resisting, and that's not easy.
Yeah. Okay, so how can we work to bring this into our daily lives and into our businesses now?
To not say no to what we feel that doesn't feel good, We don't want to zap it. Zap it is the worst thing we can do. We cut the core of a piece of ourselves, right? And it's partial work. We're going to zap it, but then in another lifetime, we're going to find it again because we haven't addressed it, right? So we have to chew it down. We have to accept it to the core. That's really the foundation. Transmutation and acceptance are the tools of the 21st century. If we don't do that, we're not going to evolve. Just a matter of fact.
Okay. in a really practical sense,
Yes.
what I was getting was, like, in marketing, learn the way it is now, accept it, and then you'll be able to move on
Yes.
to something better.
Yes.
Instead of trying to resist it and fight against it, which
Nope.
just creates more resistance and gets you nowhere.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. What we resist persists. We know that, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
in a sense, we have to respect the roads of life the way they are right now, but we have to have a vision. We have to go further. Our attention needs to be ahead of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Okay. So how else do you see the world changing in our lifetimes?
Well, it's going to take some adjustments because of the resistance and because of the force of the ego.
Mhm.
The ego is so penetrating, it's so defensive that I see it in all my, in myself, of course, and in my clients. It's a battle, right? So we have to address our resistance. We have to be humble. That's not easy. That's not easy because we had to prove ourselves forever, right? This is it. We had to become this and to become that to make a point, right? So we have to be super humble and not be attached to anything and be open. Openness is the key factor. If we're not open and we oppose any type of resistance to justify our position, then it's a waste of time, right? We just defend what we have instead of saying, okay, maybe there is more. We're so afraid of losing. This is it. It's the fear of losing always.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? We work so hard to get things, and then we're so afraid of losing them, and in the process, we somehow limit ourselves, and it doesn't even really make sense. And all the striving for things and wealth that is purely not disposable, but impermanent.
Exactly.
None of it is permanent, and those are the things that we strive for. I've often had people say to me, like, Armageddon is coming and the world is going to end and we're going to stockpile food and water and this, and I'm like, well, if it's going to be the end of the world, maybe you want to take care of your spirit, your soul, rather, first, and worry about food and water later, because that's not going to matter so much.
Yeah, we have to stop identifying with to have, to identify with to be, because this is where all the power is. Because to have is going to be washed down anyways, right? So let it go. And it doesn't mean to be too crazy, but it's an everyday consciousness, And when we are open, and we have to be like children, be really innocent. Okay, what if I do not have that? And what if I was not identifying myself with that? How would I feel? Be open, be curious. And then we conquer that talent more and more, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to return to our innocent childlessness.
Cool. Okay, Neil, go ahead.
Well, I want to seize on that notion of being versus doing, because the more I can let myself be, the more things just become easy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm perfectly capable of running around and working long hours and trying to do a lot of things.
Yes.
I'm trying to avoid that.
Exactly, because in beingness, this is where all the power is, all the guidance is, all our force is. So when we let go of our doing, we get more concentrated into the power. We accumulate more power, and then poof, and the inspiration is going to jolt, and then we're going to do, because we have to do, of course, but we're going to do in a fraction of the energy that would have taken us to do it. But usually we do because we're afraid of ourselves. We're afraid of being. We are human beings, but we do because we're so afraid of being that we don't want to go there, right? But once we accept to be, then it's very, very flavorful and delightful. And then we are in a guidance mode, yeah.
Well, I'd like to comment on power. The difference between the power of a really strong ego and the power that comes from center. And the examples I think of certainly I have some male examples. They're strong men. They do have egos, but they haven't suppressed their egos. They've just kind of bypassed it. Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, hugely powerful. Donald Trump, all ego. There's no. They're very different kinds of power.
Yes.
Martin Luther King had tremendous power of being.
Yeah, and this is the drama of our condition as human beings, you know, because we are in a dual mode. We have ego power and we have source power. And the ego power feels more safe because you can grab it, you know, and the intelligence, the mind, all that, and you can build up from this ego, but it doesn't give you any fulfillment. So it's kind of burning itself, you know, because it doesn't bring any deep satisfaction to the heart, to the soul. It doesn't bring anything. It brings manifestation. So what, right? So it's very easy to make the difference between ego power and source power into feeling what it does to your heart. It feels good, then you are in source. If it feels yucky, it's a yucky power, right? It's ego. Yeah. And this is kind of the end, you know, we are witnessing the end of this ego power because it's almost ridiculous. It's just enough already. Yeah.
Exactly. I like too that people know what the right thing to do is.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have ignored it in the past, you know, using the excuse of it not making sense economically or anything like that. But in our heart, like we know what the right thing is, and if more of us act on it and do it, you know, like help somebody across the road or pick up a toy that a kid has dropped or anything like that, you know, look somebody in the eye and say hello. It's so easy.
Yes.
To do what feels right.
Yeah.
And it actually takes a lot of work and a lot of, like you were saying, busyness to complace the ego.
Yes.
But I also like too, Neil, what you said about you know, some people have that ability to bypass the ego. And I've, you know, aside from, you know, famous people, I have witnessed that in business people as well, where they could just step aside and they listened to themselves and they listened to the will, right? And their intuition and did what was actually right. And I'm seeing actually a trend in business that way. So I hope it continues.
Well, it will, but it has to be rooted, you know, because right now what we're witnessing is I don't want to call it the fluff because that would not be right, but it's kind of it's at the superficie of things, right? This is how the revolution come about. We have something changes, but then it has to be rooted into source. Otherwise, the change cannot persist. I hope I'm making myself clear.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Okay, great. That's why it's like meditating. Okay, you can meditate 20 years. Okay, so you feel peaceful. So what? If you don't have yourself, if we don't connect ourselves with ourselves, the true self, then we have done nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We have done nothing. We can dance, we can paint, we can play music, and mimic. It's kind of the mimicking. We mimic the feminine energy, but we don't integrate it. We have to integrate it. That's really what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. In order to evolve, we have to discover and integrate, and then we can move on. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's the integration that we have to work at.
Yes, because in our civilization of the ready to swallow kind of thing, the pill, we don't want to work.
Yeah.
We want the quick fix, but the quick fix doesn't bring anything, right?
Yeah.
So we have to say, okay, I'm going to strip myself out. I am going to search myself. I'm going to go all the way in. And before that, I won't stop. That takes courage, and dedication.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it sure does, because there's a lot of stuff in there.
There's a lot of stuff, yeah. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating,
It is, yeah.
It's a journey. Oh my God, I feel that. Yuck. No, I don't want to feel that. So let's take a look. Why do I feel that? And then you do the work, and then you don't feel it anymore. You feel more of your source.
Yeah. Yeah, that being able to stop and actually pay attention and
Yes.
notice and acknowledge what's actually happening within you.
Yes. It's all about awakening. It's the awareness.
Yeah.
If we're not awakened, we're not going to be aware. And then if we're not going to be aware, we're going to be the head in the sack our entire life.
Yeah. And I just want
like
to make another point too about the fluff.
Yes.
What seems to me like we let ourselves get sidetracked into, like, for me, the one that comes to mind is self-love. And like that has become a whole business. And to me, that's a distraction.
Definitely. Yeah.
And it's staying at a more surface level.
Definitely. The world creates a lot of noise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Through different activities, social media being one of them. And then, some leaders take that on and bring movement, and then everybody sing to the choir. But it's all noise. There is no real work, They make money.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's good, but so what, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, it's not permanent. It's impermanent, right? That's why there are those fads. So we have to be a little shrewder, we have to be wiser and see what is a fad and what is the real thing. And choose the real thing.
Go ahead, Neil.
I'd like to make a comment on the language that I'm hearing. It often embodies the dimension of time. This is what we're moving towards. This is going to take hard work or a lot of practice and stuff like that. And I wonder if that's an illusion too. I think about, well, take an example from psychotherapy. When I have been trying to clear something, some past trauma, something that was really grounded deeply in me, like something from childhood. I was abducted and tortured. I did a whole bunch of rounds of a process to get through it and clear it. But after I'd done that a few times, it occurred to me that if I can clear something, really get it out of my system that's no longer relevant to me in 10 rounds of a process, what's the point in going through the 10 rounds? And after I had that realization, anything I tried to clear after that, I usually did in just one round of tapping or whatever I was using. It doesn't, if I go into something with the notion that it's hard, this is going to take a lot of work. It's hard and it takes a lot of work. But I'm wondering if we have to go through that as much as we
I think we do.
talk
Yeah.
about it.
If I may say something here, my experience is that our progression, our evolution is like a spiral. So, we have to do this large span at the base, and then we evolve, and then there is less and less. And you, Neil, and I'm sure RoseAnn, it's like a noise at the end. I'm not sure if it's me or
Myself.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, and so when we get more aligned, and then we have to do less work, then we're a straight antenna to source, and then phew, it's gone, right? And that's what I look, that's what I witness in my work, personal and with my clients, there's less and less work to do because we have chopped up the trees and the past is really clearer and clearer. So my hope is that all of us healers and teachers, we're going to be able to help people in a blink because the factor of time is not going to play out all that much.
That's what I find too. I totally agree on this spiral. That's exactly how I feel it is too. And I find now, whereas before I had to do a lot of work to get to a result, now I just have to recognize it. I just have to see it and it's gone. Like,
Voilà.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's exactly right. But it depends where you are in that spiral, I think. Yeah.
It depends, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And the less we attach with the spiral and with our problems, and the quicker we're going to go. Yeah.
Okay, guys. I'm just so thrilled with this conversation, and I'm so glad that you guys have joined me today to talk about this. I think it's something that we really, really need to talk about in the world, melding the two energies and the misconception that the feminine of the feminine energy and what it is, and its value, and in bringing us and making us whole beings, not as separate male and female, but as male and female integrated within each of us, and what that means on the grander scale, as you're saying. So I'm just going to ask, do either of you have any closing words? And I'm so happy with this conversation.
Yeah. Well, I nurture the strong sensation in my body that we're going to create it. We are planting the seeds, and those seeds needs to germinate. And we are at this, the new era is really, the seed starts to sprout. And it will take some watering. And that's why we have to talk, we have to express, and we have to show up in the world. And we have to vibrate. We have to be that, to vibrate into the world, and take our place vibratorily, and also videos, and blogs. And we have to speak our truth. We have to speak about what we have discovered for ourselves and share it with people. And that's going to say, oh, yes, of course, I want that. Yeah. Because if they don't know that it's available, a lot of people think it's way out of our mind, to think that we're going to be able to establish heaven on earth. They think I am a nut, but I don't care because I know it. I know it in my fibers, in my neutron, So I'm going to keep at it, and it will be created because we all participate in it.
I totally agree and totally love that. Also, Natalie, can you make sure that you give us your website link? And do you have any programs coming up or your coaching?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Because in this perspective of the spiral, you know, I have nailed down a quicker program now for people. If they engage now, they're going to have a whole less work to do than I had to go through and the generation after me and all that. So yes, I do have a program, and yeah, I'm so thrilled. It's I love to do that with people, and my website is just nataliekawai.com. That's easy.
I'm muted. Thank you. I will post that below the video, below the replay, so anybody who wants to get a hold of Natalie can. And Neil, did you have anything you want to add to the end here?
Well, taking out that dimension of time, my sense is that heaven on earth is already here.
Yes.
So not something to look forward to, but something to enjoy now. I did not get a sense of connection to everything, to all people and beyond, until I had really acknowledged my male and female sides, and moved out of my head and into my heart and in my living. And that changed the way I see things. And that was something that I was in my 30s, a long time ago, a very long time ago. But my creative side, I have a good mind too. I can think, but it doesn't take precedence over my feelings, my emotions, my being. And so I often feel a connection with others broadly or narrowly. It's just become easy.
Nice. Thank you, Neil. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I think we should wrap up now. And this has been a great conversation. And so I hope it continues in the comments. And okay, so I'm RoseAnn Jansen with Natalie Kawai and Dr. Neil Neal on the feminine energy. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you, RoseAnn. Thank you, Natalie.
Aloha, bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this conversation and would like to join in more discussions about stuff that matters, please go to revealyourlife.com and sign up for my newsletter. You'll receive notifications of upcoming conversations. You can download some pretty fantastic meditations, and you'll get access to other great stuff to expand your life and business. So go to revealyourlife.com and sign up.